The Amish way of life is built around simplicity, self-reliance, and long-term thinking. Nowhere is this more evident than in the way they preserve and store their food. Without relying on electricity or modern refrigeration, Amish families have mastered the art of canning, using traditional methods to safely prepare and store food that can last for decades. These aren't quick fixes or emergency rations. They're everyday essentials, carefully made from homegrown ingredients and passed down through generations. For the Amish, food storage is about more than survival. It's about living well without waste, being prepared for anything, and staying connected to the land and each season's harvest. Number 1. Home canned meats. In Amish communities, food preservation isn't just a seasonal chore. It's part of a way of life built around independence, self-reliance, and deep planning. When it comes to long-term storage, few items are more valuable or carefully prepared than home-canned meats. While most people today rely on freezers or store-bought cans, the Amish continue to preserve meat using traditional pressure canning techniques, creating a product that can last not just years, but in some cases, multiple decades if properly stored. The process typically begins after a home butchering, often done in autumn when temperatures start to drop, allowing for easier meat handling without refrigeration. A family might process an entire pig, several chickens, or a steer in a day, and by nightfall they're already cutting and canning. The meat is cubed or chunked, sometimes left on the bone, and packed tightly into sterilized mason jars. What's striking is the simplicity. No commercial additives, just meat, salt, and occasionally a ladle of homemade broth or rendered fat. This isn't about flavoring for modern palates. It's about preservation that works, generation after generation. Pressure canning is what makes this method so effective. It's not the same as water bath canning used for fruits or vegetables. Meats require higher temperatures to destroy harmful bacteria like Clostridium botulinum, and the pressure canner raises the internal temperature of the jar well above the boiling point of water. Once sealed, these jars become airtight vaults of nourishment. Stored in a root cellar or pantry, away from heat and light, the meat inside won't spoil. In fact, many Amish families still open and eat jars that were sealed 20 or more years ago without issue. Beyond longevity, home-canned meat offers practicality. It's ready to eat straight from the jar, which means no need to defrost or cook for hours. During busy seasons like planting or harvesting, these jars provide quick, hearty meals with minimal effort. A jar of beef might become stew, pork might be shredded for sandwiches, and chicken used in soups or pies. The meat is fully cooked and incredibly tender. And because the Amish use animals raised without hormones or commercial feed, the natural flavor is often richer than store-bought alternatives. What sets Amish canned meat apart isn't just the method, it's the mindset. It's a commitment to never wasting a resource. Every jar represents hours of labor, careful planning, and respect for the animal that provided the meat. In communities where power outages or isolation from stores aren't rare events but daily life, having a wall of preserved meats isn't just convenient, it's essential. This isn't prepping out of fear, it's preparing out of wisdom. Number 2, pickled eggs. Pickled eggs might sound like a strange thing to keep on hand for years, but in Amish households, they're one of the smartest and most practical foods you'll find. These aren't just some curiosity on a pantry shelf. They're a reliable, protein-rich food that stores without a fridge and holds up for an incredibly long time. What makes pickled eggs so valuable is how simple they are to prepare and how effective the preservation process is. It all starts with fresh eggs, usually gathered right from the family's coop, where chickens roam freely and eat natural feed, giving the eggs a rich taste and dense texture. Once collected, the eggs are boiled, then carefully peeled to keep them whole. The next step is where the real preservation happens. The eggs are packed into large glass jars and fully submerged in a brine that's typically made with vinegar, salt, and water. But this isn't just any brine, it's tailored based on the family's preferences. Some families use a clear white vinegar brine that gives the eggs a clean, sharp flavor, while others add beet juice for a deep red color and a sweeter, earthier note. In some households, you'll find pickled eggs that have been steeped with garlic, cloves, onions, or hot peppers, depending on the taste people prefer. The acidic environment created by the vinegar stops bacterial growth and acts as a natural preservative, which is why refrigeration isn't needed. When stored in a dark, cool place like a root cellar or a pantry, these eggs can last not just months, but sometimes even years. Over time, the eggs continue to absorb flavor from the brine, making them more intense and flavorful the longer they sit. Some Amish even have a habit of waiting several weeks before opening a jar, just to give the taste more depth. What's also practical is how pickled eggs fit into the Amish lifestyle. Without refrigeration, quick and ready-to-eat foods are important. A pickled egg can be grabbed and eaten as a snack, sliced onto a piece of bread, chopped into a salad, or added to a plate of vegetables. It's protein that doesn't spoil, doesn't require cooking, and can be eaten straight from the jar. In busy seasons like harvest time, when meals need to be fast and filling, pickled eggs are perfect. Even more, these eggs are made from ingredients almost every Amish household already has. Vinegar from apple cider, herbs from the garden, eggs from the backyard. Nothing needs to be bought and nothing goes to waste. When you live off the land and every bit of food matters, something as simple as a pickled egg becomes a long-lasting, nutritious, and dependable part of everyday life. Number 3, apple butter. In Amish kitchens, apple butter isn't just a sweet spread. It's a reflection of how the community turns the most basic ingredients into something rich, comforting, and incredibly long-lasting. Every autumn, as apple trees become heavy with fruit, families across Amish country gather for what often turns into a full-day or even multi-day event centered around apple butter making. Unlike store-bought versions, which are typically diluted and oversweetened, the Amish variety is dense, dark, and loaded with slow-cooked flavor that only gets better with time. The process begins with large quantities of apples, often heritage varieties grown in small family orchards. These apples are washed, cored, and simmered in big kettles, sometimes outdoors over wood-fired flames, depending on the tradition of the family. They're cooked slowly for hours, sometimes even overnight, until the fruit breaks down into a thick, smooth consistency. There's no rushing this. The mixture is constantly stirred to prevent burning, and it thickens naturally as moisture evaporates. Once it reaches the perfect texture, the apples are blended with cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, and sometimes just a touch of cider vinegar. What makes this mixture special is that no extra preservatives or thickeners are added. Only time, patience, and heat transform the fruit into a spreadable butter. Once finished, the apple butter is poured hot into sterilized jars and sealed, while still steaming, creating a vacuum-tight barrier that protects the contents from air and bacteria. When stored in a cool, dark place like a cellar or pantry, these jars can last for many, many years without refrigeration. The high concentration of natural fruit sugars, along with the lack of water content, keeps spoilage away. Unlike jams or jellies, apple butter is less about sweetness and more about richness. It's deep brown, silky smooth, and has layers of warm spice that develop further over time. In Amish homes, apple butter is far more than a topping. It's a staple, appearing at breakfast, lunch, or even dessert. Spread over warm homemade bread, mixed into pancake batter, swirled into oatmeal, or spooned into pastries, it brings flavor and comfort to even the simplest meals. And because it's made during the harvest and preserved in large batches, families often have shelves lined with dozens of jars, each one a reminder of the season's bounty and the labor that went into capturing it. With no need for freezing or refrigeration, apple butter offers a sweet, spiced, and shelf-stable answer to long-term food storage, exactly the kind of foresight the Amish are known for. Number 4, dried bean soup mix. In Amish communities, where life is structured around self-sufficiency and minimal reliance on modern conveniences, dried bean soup mix holds a permanent and respected place in the pantry. This isn't just a jar full of beans. It's a handcrafted meal, carefully assembled in advance, ready to be turned into a hearty, nourishing soup that can feed a large family with very little effort or cost. Every component is selected not only for its long shelf life, but for the way it contributes to a balanced, filling, and sustaining meal. It's the kind of food that you can forget about for years and still come back to and trust it will deliver both comfort and nutrition. Typically stored in large glass jars or cloth bags in cool, dry storage spaces, these mixes are created in bulk during the slower months of the year. Amish women and older children often gather in the kitchen to layer dried ingredients in neat, colorful patterns. You might see a mix of kidney beans, black beans, lentils, split peas, navy beans, and pinto beans, all arranged like a mosaic of earth tones. Sometimes they'll even include dried corn, barley, or tiny pasta pieces. To this, they might add a small muslin pouch of dried herbs, onions, garlic, and carrots. Ingredients dehydrated at home using sun-drying or low heat from a wood stove. What makes dried bean soup mix so valuable isn't just the fact that the ingredients last almost indefinitely if kept dry. It's the way these ingredients expand and transform once water and heat are added. A single jar can swell into a thick, rich soup that feeds 10 or more people. Add a ladle of home-canned meat or a bit of lard, and you've got a protein-packed meal that's perfect for cold days, busy work seasons, or unexpected guests. Unlike many canned or processed meals, dried soup mixes are entirely free from artificial additives or preservatives. Everything is grown, dried, and assembled by hand. They can be cooked slowly over a wood stove or even outdoors if needed, making them ideal for off-grid living. When times are tough, when the weather turns harsh, or when other food sources run low, this humble jar becomes more than just a meal. It's a quiet reassurance that there's always something to eat, something warm, something real. That's the heart of Amish food storage. Not luxury, not convenience, but thoughtful, enduring preparation. Number 5, canned tomatoes. Among all the preserved foods lining the shelves of an Amish pantry, canned tomatoes stand out as one of the most versatile and heavily relied upon. You'll rarely find an Amish home without entire rows of glass jars filled with vibrant reds, whole tomatoes, stewed varieties, thick sauces, purees, and even homemade tomato juice. These aren't just ingredients, they're the foundation of countless meals throughout the year, especially during the cold months when fresh produce is either unavailable or reserved for special occasions. Canning tomatoes isn't just a habit, it's an essential rhythm in the yearly cycle of Amish life. Late summer is when the work begins. As the tomato plants reach peak production, families will spend entire days harvesting, washing, blanching, peeling, chopping, and boiling. Every part of the process is hands-on. The tomatoes are often heirloom varieties, grown without chemicals and chosen for flavor, not size or shelf appeal. Some are meaty and low in water, perfect for sauces. Others are juicier, better suited for stews or soups. Nothing is wasted. Skins and cores are composted or fed to livestock, while the best flesh makes it into jars. Each jar is filled with tomatoes, prepared in slightly different ways depending on how they'll be used. Whole peeled tomatoes are packed in their own juices, sometimes with a bit of salt. For thicker sauces, the tomatoes are simmered for hours to reduce their moisture, concentrating both taste and nutrition. Some families might add basil or oregano, but most keep it simple. The jars are sealed through water bath or pressure canning, depending on the recipe, and stored in cool, dark cellars where they can stay good for 10, 15, even 20 years if undisturbed. What makes canned tomatoes such a crucial staple is how they adapt to nearly every kind of dish. Amish meals are often built from scratch, and these jars serve as the base for soups, gravies, casseroles, stews, pasta dishes, and even baked goods. On a cold winter evening, a single jar of tomatoes can transform simple ingredients into a deeply satisfying meal. They bring acidity, moisture, and body to food in a way that dried or powdered ingredients simply can't match. In an off-grid setting where running to the store isn't an option, having a stockpile of home-canned tomatoes means having flexibility and flavor on demand. They carry the taste of summer into the depths of winter, turning basic meals into something warm, colorful, and alive. Every jar is a reminder of the harvest, of hard work done ahead of time. and of a way of living that values preparation as much as preservation. Number 6, sauerkraut. In Amish communities, sauerkraut is far more than just a tangy side dish. It's a deeply rooted tradition, a reliable preservation method, and one of the healthiest, most practical foods they keep in long-term storage. Prepared entirely without electricity, using only cabbage, salt, and thyme, Amish sauerkraut is a powerful example of how simple techniques can result in food that not only lasts for years, but also improves in taste and nutritional value as it ages. This fermented staple is found in glass jars and stone crocks in nearly every Amish cellar, where it rests quietly through the seasons, ready to be used whenever fresh produce isn't available. The process of making sauerkraut usually begins during the cooler months of late fall, when cabbage heads are at their largest and most flavorful. After harvest, the cabbage is cleaned, cored, and shredded finely, often by hand or with a large hand-cranked slicer. Once shredded, it's packed tightly into fermentation vessels in layers, with salt sprinkled over each handful. This salt isn't there for taste. It's there to draw moisture from the cabbage and create the perfect environment for natural fermentation. The Amish don't add vinegar or artificial preservatives. The only thing that transforms the cabbage is lactic acid bacteria, which occur naturally and thrive in this salty, airless setting. Once packed, the cabbage is weighted down, sometimes with a wooden press, a clean stone, or a tightly sealed lid, to keep everything submerged in its own brine. It stays in a cool place for weeks, even months, while it ferments. During this time, the cabbage changes color, texture, and flavor, turning into a soft, sour, and deeply flavorful food with a distinctive tang. As the fermentation progresses, it also becomes richer in probiotics, making it incredibly beneficial for digestion and gut health. Stored in sealed jars, sauerkraut can last for years without refrigeration. In fact, many Amish families believe that the longer it sits, the better it tastes. When fresh greens are hard to come by in winter, sauerkraut provides essential vitamins, especially vitamin C, and pairs well with heavy dishes like sausage, roast meats, or potatoes. It's often served warm or cold, depending on the meal, and can be used in soups, stews, or eaten plain. What makes sauerkraut particularly valuable in the Amish lifestyle is its balance of simplicity, nutrition, and longevity. It requires no special tools, no outside ingredients, and no electricity to make or store. It's a food that connects generations. Every family has their own rhythm, their own salt-to-cabbage ratio, and their own method of judging when it's just right. In a world where convenience often comes at the cost of quality, sauerkraut remains a pure, living example of how traditional methods can still outlast modern ones. Number 7, fruit preserves. In the heart of every Amish pantry, tucked between rows of canned vegetables and jars of dried herbs, you'll find shelves lined with colorful, glistening jars of fruit preserves. These aren't just sweet treats for special occasions. They're an essential part of food storage, offering both nourishment and comfort during long winters and busy seasons. Made from fruits harvested at peak ripeness and preserved using only natural ingredients, Amish fruit preserves are known for their intense flavor, long shelf life, and the care that goes into every jar. For the Amish, preserving fruit isn't just about storage. It's about capturing the season's abundance and making it last. Throughout summer and early fall, as orchards and berry bushes reach full yield, families gather buckets of peaches, strawberries, blackberries, elderberries, and plums, often from their own land. Nothing is left to waste. Even fruits with blemishes or soft spots are carefully trimmed and used for cooking. The fruit is cleaned, chopped, and cooked down slowly over wood stoves or gas burners, depending on the household. Unlike commercial jams, Amish preserves don't rely on artificial pectin or additives. Instead, they use natural fruit pectin or rely on traditional long boil methods, where fruit and sugar are simmered together until the mixture thickens naturally and reaches that perfect spoon coating texture. Each family has their own method for getting the balance right. Some like their preserves thick and rich, almost like fruit butter, while others prefer a more gel-like consistency. Sugar levels vary too. Some recipes are syrupy and sweet, others more tart and bold, especially when wild berries or rhubarb are involved. A splash of lemon juice might be added to enhance preservation and brighten the flavor, but overall the ingredients are minimal, allowing the taste of the fruit to shine. Once cooked, the preserves are poured piping hot into sterilized glass jars and sealed tightly, creating a vacuum that keeps bacteria out and flavor locked in. These jars are then stored in cool, dry cellars where they can remain stable for a decade or more. No refrigeration is needed, and the taste only deepens with time. What's most remarkable is how these preserves are used, not just on toast or biscuits, but also swirled into oatmeal, layered into pies, baked into breads, or eaten straight from the jar during long workdays for a quick burst of energy. Fruit preserves in the Amish home are more than just a way to keep fruit from spoiling. They're a form of edible memory, a sweet reminder of summer's bounty when snow is on the ground and the trees are bare. They embody the principles of thoughtful living, preparing in advance, wasting nothing, and making something beautiful and useful from the simplest ingredients.